Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a quick video on Bitcoin and altcoins. And are we going to have continuation? Are we going to have the alt season? What are we going to see? Anyway, what are we going to see? So basically, Bitcoin has got supports all the way down. 10 exponential is the first one. We're riding that at the moment, 66,800. Then below that, 66,005, 66,002, 65,400. Then you've got your golden cross components here, 2 golden crosses all on the 4 hourly. Each one of these basically giving us a support all the way down. Now, personally, I wouldn't expect at this point for Bitcoin to break down below 63,300. We've got this horizontal over here, which is more or less going to be the floor if we come down to that level. Now, obviously, you know, measuring that out, it's a fair old drop, just over 5%. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but if it were to happen, it's still a buy the dip or an attempted long position or whatever. It's not the end of the world if we did come down to that level. It's actually what I'd consider to be, you know, relatively bullish retest of a lower zone. But if it breaks, then yeah, we continue to go down in the consolidation that we're still seeing. If we move up, and again, yeah, this is like something I'm quite concerned about until we see it, though. It's just going to be a concern. If we move up, we've got a further, just short of 7%, so 6.7% move up to this major level, this 71,500, we'll call it, where I'm going to start to get concerned about a bigger pullback, maybe even, you know, going all the way down to new lows. But you know, let's first of all just talk about a rejection, and then we'll look at it if and when it goes down. Not saying that it's going to, but I'm just telling you, I'm looking at that as a place to take profit across the board for anything that I'm in, right? Not hodls, by the way, not hodls, that's different. A hodl is a hodl. You don't sell at resistances like this. But some of the trades that I entered into over the last week, yeah, I'll be getting out around here just in case we pull back. Because if we are going to find, you know, a rejection that does take us down to a new low, which it could, I'm not saying that it's going to, it would be around here. And even if it didn't, it would be a decent pullback anyway, in my opinion, just from what I can see. So that is Bitcoin on the 4 hourly. Let's have a look at the higher term time frame. So we'll look at the daily. We've got a breakout of momentum, breakout of money flow, breakout of the MACD, and we're above the cloud at this point. And also, if we take it to the 4 hourly, I mean the 12 hourly, we do have that pump signal which is still in play with a resistance above us of 71,500. So it does, to me, look like this area is going to get hit at some point, you know, quite soon, maybe next week, to be honest with you. There's no divergence on this one to say that the trend is weakening to the up. We're just waiting for the springboard. It is Sunday, bit of a lame day. Probably need traditional markets to help us up the stairs on Bitcoin, and that's fine. So that just means waiting until tomorrow. So anything really could happen today. Pullbacks into any of these areas could easily happen, and then a boost up to these levels. That'll take altcoins with it one way or another. Now, if we take ourselves over to the dominance chart, we can see that the dominance chart has started to move back up again. Shouldn't be too much of a surprise, really, because it doesn't matter which way you cut it. This has been a bullish chart on a variety of different time frames. Obviously, golden crossed all the way back down here. Move up on the daily, supported on the 7 simple. Obviously, we looked at the 4 hourly, golden cross moved up. You know, if we can get above 56%, then we're probably looking to make our way up to the major resistance, which is up here. First of all, 58 and maybe 64. So we've still got a bit further to run on this one, which means that Bitcoin's likely to outperform altcoins, generally speaking. No altcoin is created equal, you know that. So we look at each individual one, see if they've got a better setup than Bitcoin. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. But at the moment, the safest thing to do is generally to hold Bitcoin, really. It seems to be giving you bigger moves on the way up. And, you know, it's not as destructive on the way down as holding altcoins. However, there is opportunity in altcoins. So let's have a look at the total 2 then, shall we? Which is still bouncing weekly. Bollinger Band Center, great place for it to bounce. And maybe those lows that we picked up were the lows, but let's not beat around the bush. We don't know. We don't know. Let's have a think about the total 2 on the daily, which is currently trending above all moving averages with a bit of hidden bearish divergence on that. And the 4 hourly, you know, it's not confirmed anything quite yet. We had the pump signal, we're above moving averages. We don't have the golden crosses. We don't have anything like that. So, you know, what we're looking at here is basically just a weaker version of Bitcoin moving. However, it does look like it's trying to change its formation. That's what Bitcoin's looking like it wants to do too. So to stare at this chart and assume that we're going to outperform Bitcoin. I don't think that's true, but some altcoins will. So let's have a look at Ethereum, because Ethereum did do quite well, and this is Ethereum on the 4 hourly, managed to get above the 200 exponential, which is really good. We've not seen that in a while, to be honest with you. So this is a good thing now. Can we build a base above it long enough for us to get a golden cross? It's a big ask, to be honest with you. It is a big ask. Did have a pump signal generated at 3,040. We're only a little bit above that right now. So I would assume that that we have the power, I suppose, to move back up, to continue to climb back up on this chart. I think that is the case, but do we pull back first? And if we did pull back, where we're going to go down to? Things start to get a bit hard if we move down below 3,060, which is your 21, your 200, and your 20, all around this area. So all eyes on Ethereum, really, because Ethereum has helped that total 2 move up, obviously. It's actually one of the better performing altcoins generally over the last few days, so it's not that bad, and we shouldn't be too surprised, because we were talking about this before as we were moving towards the golden cross. There was a few altcoins like this, and we took some opportunities like this, because this is the trading setup, isn't it, really? You're more likely to have a bounce around here. So this was front run, but if we do come back down to these levels, we should also think about buying those dips too. And if it breaks down, then yeah, that's fine. You know, we worked out the risk to reward, made a whole video about risk to reward, starting the process from here. And if it fails here, if that fails here, and even if it was just to go back up to the all-time high, the risk to reward is still acceptable, you know, from a spot position. That's pretty much all I really have for you today. You know, Sunday is often quite lame when it comes to trading. There was some big news, actually, that I never really spoke about, that took place at the end of last week, which is China selling billions of US bonds. Right, so this is likely going to have a bit of an effect. It's already had an effect on the Dixie, but I think it's going to continue to have an effect on the Dixie. So as much as the Dixie, or should we just call it the dollar, is bullish on something like the daily, coming down to retest this 200 exponential, which is really good, and where you'd expect to bounce, continuation up, which is really good. You know, that's where you'd like to see that sort of thing happening. Also, the weekly, we've hit this 20 weekly moving average, again, really good. If you're going to expect to bounce on a technical basis, that's where it should take place from. It really should. But with it's not even FUD, it's really happening. China flogging all these dollars, getting rid of all these dollars, billions of dollars, and buying gold as a result, which is why we're starting to see even further move up on gold. It could be enough to break the resistance on gold that takes gold up even higher than it should be going, because gold is high. It can go up a little higher, but you know, if it keeps climbing like this and breaks out beyond 2,500, then we're talking like a parabolic move on gold. I wouldn't get your hopes up on that, but you know, if the resistance is break, then that's what's going to happen. Same thing with the dollar. If the supports break, then it's going to come down lower. And it's not just good for gold. If the support breaks here, it'll be coming down towards 101, really. That 200 exponential maybe down to the 200 simple, which is below at 100, really. So we know what that would be like. That will cause big moves in the market, big moves up in the market. So be careful what you wish for, though, because I know that we all want a weaker dollar, generally speaking, but we don't want it to be permanently weak forever. I mean, love it or hate it, we kind of like need some predictability and stability in the dollar to help us in the overall trading environment. So it's like you might get a quick fix if that were to happen. You know, we might get a quick pump and we'll be all very happy for the time being. But then, you know, what's going to happen? What will likely happen? You know, the Fed will have to strengthen the dollar somehow. And we won't want that, because that means tampering with the markets. And so we'll just have to say, I don't want that. I'd rather not have a quick fix. I prefer the long game. I'd prefer to trade a chart. I don't want to have to worry about people, you know, messing around with interest rates to artificially stabilize the global currency, because that's going to have effect on everything else. I don't want that. but it might have to happen later on, so we'll see. So we're not completely out of the woods at all, but based on the China news, and again, I hate talking about news. Stupid. I'm a technicals guy, but you have to factor these things in sometimes. Despite the news, when we're looking at something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, we probably are looking at something on a 4-hourly where we pull back a little bit further, just a little bit further, to see if we can hold these areas and then continue up from there. Which means that I reckon, just based on the technicals alone, the crypto generally, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatever altcoin that has a better chart than these, should continue to go up next week. You could pull back today first, but we should continue throughout next week to higher highs. But we should also be particularly concerned when we get to this level, and just be careful not to be overexposed, especially in altcoins, because altcoins aren't at a place right now where they're suggesting massive parabolic alt seasons, for prolonged periods of time. They're not suggesting that, but we will, and they are vulnerable to whatever Bitcoin does. And so if we push up to this area, probably get a rejection from there. Hopefully you get a higher low generated, but you might not. The whole point I'm trying to make is, on Bitcoin's chart right now, we could pull back from this area to any one of these zones, 5 to 6%, and we could push up at this level anywhere up to 6.5%. So really, if you're thinking about taking a position here on Bitcoin or anything, recognize that the risk to reward is almost equal, which makes it close to a 50-50 trade. And again, the momentum does suggest further upside, which is why I'm saying it's only close to a 50% upside. It's probably about 60-40, to the up. 60% likely to go up, 40% likely to go down. So the odds are in favour of further upside, definitely, but they're not guaranteed at all. And trading off the back of a statistical likelihood of something happening like 60%, it's a bit hard to consider that worthy of large amounts of money. That's not to me, that's not acceptable for new entries. However, the chances are it still does go up, but not. It's not a comfortable statistic, is it? 60%. Yeah, I'm not looking at overexposing myself at all, despite what I'm looking at. So entries from last week, yeah, they did well. ICP, VET, SHIB as well did all right. Those are my entries from last week. They're still all right. They're still okay, but I will be taking profit on at least the trading aspects, the trading parts of those. The VET and the ICP were hodl positions that I bought, but some of it trading and SHIB, obviously a big trade there. I'll be looking to get out of that if and when we move up to this level on Bitcoin. So, boring, I know. But if you made it to the end of the video, please let me know. The algorithm likes it. If you like the video now, I tell you what I'd like, a subscriber. Come on, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to give you the best, most accurate analysis I can give you. It's the same stuff that I go by, and I make my money on crypto. So, if it works for me, there must be some value to it because this is my job. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. I've got to get the kids ready to go swimming. And so I hope you have a nice Sunday. Take it easy.